I don't have a do-over. I can't go back in time. And I also don't want to live in regret, right? We don't want to live in regret and guilt that are things that we experience when we do have a realization later in their young adulthood. So
take the time to remind yourself that it all starts inside yourself. Wake up feeling stuck every day, then you gotta realize that it's all in your mindset. Read about that meditation, you go get around to it, you just haven't had the time. Yeah, I bet. Best thing that you could invest in is you. Could have the results or could have the excuse. Only one life, so take care of what you choose. And I ain't preaching, I'm just telling you the truth. Wake up.
Hello and welcome to Bombastik Broadcasting with Kat, Kim, and Sue.
As you know, here at Bombastik Broadcasting, we believe in shining the light on all things bombastic and illuminating the folks who are stoking the fire in their souls, one podcast at a time. So, yay, continuing this beautiful, conscious, global conscious parenting summit showcase of these fantastic coaches you didn't even know existed, but we'll never forget. We have another one here with us today, Stephanie Garcia. Okay, so Stephanie is coming to us from the Great Pacific Northwest in Corvallis, Oregon. She's a conscious parenting coach, and she is also a life coach nurse. Now, that is a new one, and I love when I hear something new because it perks up my ears. One of her taglines is heart first, then guidance, leading your inner alignment and emotional presence. Which sounds, I love how these taglines kind of give you a little lesson right there. I feel like I just learned something already, Stephanie. So thank you for that. And again, just to remember, the Global Conscious Parenting Summit is coming to us all on August 8th. Mark your calendars. It's online. It's free. It's a no-brainer. Get there. So here we go. Welcome to you, Stephanie.
thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here with all of you ladies. Just what a privilege. I'm truly honored to share this space right now with you all. Thank you for having me.
Great. We're very excited to meet you. And I wanted to ask you how you sort of got started in your business. And I love your Nurse Heart Wisdom. That's the name of your business, right?
Correct.
And I think that's gorgeous. How did you get started?
Well, for me, nursing and parenting have been a parallel process that have truly complemented how I have experienced both. And, I tease my kids know this. They hear it all the time, not all the time, but they've heard it enough. That I've always shared with them. They've been a part of this process with me. In my professional life and in my parenting and personal life, right? So when I was turning in my application for nursing school, I was pregnant with my son and my water broke. And I had to, and, and that was a whole thing. And then
I'm sure it was.
The podium graduating, I was pregnant with my daughter, months pregnant with my daughter. And then, that actually, really led into even my training. You're pregnant with your child and your training. So it's really have been for me to reflect back and realize that my parenting journey and my nursing journey, professional journeys are personal, but nursing is very personal for me. And how that complemented each other along the way and what that meant for each other along the way. So there, led to my name, Nurse Heart Wisdom, because I am a nurse. But we all need to nurse our hearts, right? We all need to kind of drop from our heads into our hearts, and therein lies the wisdom. So it's just guiding us through that process to elicit the wisdom that really is within each and every one of us. And there's no, our truth, our experience is so unique individually. And so there's no wisdom I can tell you necessarily, but I can guide you to that within your own being. And I think that's kind of a beautiful way of being able to re-envision and reimagining ourselves.
Yeah, that's gorgeous. I just saw on your website, it said you've got a quote there by Dr. Sabari, which says, our children come to us to awaken us, to help us evolve. And it sounds like your children rocked in on day one.
Yeah, they said, "Are you ready?" And boy, I thought I was.
They were like, right now, Mom.
Yeah, talk about a dual degree, right? I mean, parenting itself is like, woo, biggest job you'll ever have, right? Greatest job you'll ever love is what they say or something. And now with the nursing, that's no small feat as well. And looking back on it, you can see how they signaled in, right? Oh my
Yes.
gosh, that's such a cool part of your story.
Yes. Yes. And they are, I mean, I know that we usually have the one child that's the big poker, and I do. But by the time I truly awoken, which I have older children, and so I think that has um its own unique gifts, that I don't have a do-over. I can't go back in time. And I also don't want to live in regret, right? We don't want to live in regret and guilt that
Yeah.
are things that we experience when we do have a realization later in your children's childhood, right? In their young adulthood. So my children are 22 and 18 now. And my awakening process started about, well, 7 years ago. It started. And yet, here we are in 2025. And it has taken years to do a lot of healing and a lot of shifting in how I parented from a traditional and parented alongside a person from a very traditional lens. And I am divorced now, but how we need to have one conscious parent in the family to really truly allow a shift, not only in our relationships, but then allowing them to have a shift within themselves when that's meant to happen as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did your conscious awakening start around about the same time as your divorce?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
That after, so my divorce was prior to the pandemic. It was in December and the pandemic was in March, I think, February, March. And during that time, I had, in 2018, I had found my father, which actually started my realization that the stories I've been told, I want to question.
Mm.
And so I went and did, kind of like in nursing, or in the medical field, we have an H&P, history and physical, and it was kind of that. I really went back and I was basically interviewing, not interviewing, but really curious and inquisitive and asking family members about these stories and how they experienced them in this, because I was trying to get a story that I was told clarified for me. What does it mean for me, this story that I was told? And so it allowed me to see, as Dr. Shafali says, we are living a life of patterns. And it allowed me to see patterns not only within my family, but then I actually, now that I had my father, I actually started seeing patterns not only in my maternal but my paternal line. So you just start seeing these things in our generations prior to us that allow you to gain such a depth of insight into what you are experiencing right now, therefore into what your children are experiencing. So it allowed me to have such moments of epiphanies, truths for me, and compassion, deep compassion, and also a realization of now it's time for somebody to take some responsibility. And that person might have to be me. I might have to take the hit, and that's okay. And that's okay. Yeah.
But damn it.
Oh, that's a hashtag right there. But damn
No,
it.
it's not. But you know what? It frees you. You get to free yourself from other people's stories and their attachments to it, their emotional attachment to it, their whatever it is, however they are attached to their stories and what it means to them. It frees you from that. You get to now discern something else. Yeah.
Isn't that the funny thing about empowerment? It doesn't have to happen from like the victim sidecar. There
Yes.
has to be that shift where then like you accept it, you take it in, like you feel like that, even if you feel like that gut wrenching sorrow or that grief or that whatever, and then like you rise up and you're like, okay, so this is me now, and then you get the tingles or the shivers or the tickle, as Kim would say, and and you start walking one foot in front of the other. So and I think it's really cool how everybody who is in the place of giving to others like this, in the coaching field, in the care field, you have that moment of shift, where you feel the catalyst. I always like to call it the hero's journey, right? We all know the hero's journey now, but it's not always glamorous and it's not always easy, but you walk through it. And that thing about story that you said, I want to ask you. So do you think a lot of people know that the story that they're telling themselves might not be what is really the story? It's almost like the gossip circle. Remember in kindergarten or like first grade when you like whisper in somebody's ear and it goes all around the circle?
Yeah.
So how different was that story for you? And do you think a lot of people know to do that work?
I don't think a lot of people do that work. And I think that's because we are in the story. We are in it. And unless you have some kind of awareness and allowance. So you have to, there's always something trying to make you aware of your story. But then we probably compound that with another story. So, there's just there's something that tends to happen. And in this case, with parenting, there's something that happens with parenting where you keep getting poked. That child is still poking you, right? Really just poking you. And so, like, really? Like,
Chinese water torture.
Yeah, it is so deep. So deep. But really, the point being that the reason that is occurring is so that we can wake up, right? We can start to think, hey, something's not quite right here. And what does that mean? How can I start to see this differently? Right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Nice. Poking, not tapping. Poking.
Apparently I just poked, but
Okay,
apparently I'm talking too loud and I just poked somebody. So
right.
but that's okay.
I'm just going to pop back to your nurse heart wisdom for a second. And I love that, concept of going down to your heart, and therein lies the wisdom. And we had another guest actually on our podcast last week who was, she's really into working with healthcare and healthcare workers. And she was really looking to coach healthcare workers because she was thinking that if they had coaching and they could open up their hearts, the whole process could be so pretty, I'll say.
And the system of the hospital and the whole healthcare system is such a big machine. Yeah.
Right. So I have a passion to coach nurses. And this is it's an interesting, when I had this realization, I think I was in an education role a few years ago. I was onboarding, boy, 7, 8, 9 new nurses into the operating room. And I was in a new role. My manager was in a new role. Many of the administrative people in that moment were in a new role. And what I discovered is I found myself doing more mentoring and realizing that they needed a lot of support, a lot of reframing, a lot of coaching, a lot of compassion. Because as they were onboarding, they were experiencing bullying. They were experiencing incivility. And they were really having a difficult time. And I could see so much about this experience for them and how it was affecting their learning, how it was affecting whether they, questioning whether that this is something they wanted to do. And when you see that, you have to then be able to go to a bigger picture of, wow, this is really important and we need to do something. Now, I personally had a moment where I needed to leave and I left. And it was actually a moment I was sitting at my desk and I looked around and I said, I can't do this either. I can't do this. And this is part of my own personal awakening process. It was meant to happen. It was meant to be. It needed to happen so that I could continue to evolve, because my evolution was just, it was on a catalyst. And so I knew then, though, that I was meant to work with nurses. I've always been in this, like even in high school, I was elected to be a mentor. So this caregiving, this mentor, this desire and passion to help nurses and parents is just like, it's a beautiful complement to each other for me. And in our world that we live in right now, where our institutions and our staff are just colliding, it's not a healthy dynamic. So we have the medical institutions, and we have our staff. We have cats here too, and we have our staff members behave. And I have seen how we call it toxic, and we call it this, and we name it so many things. And for me, I found it to just neutralize the language. We can have healthy dynamics and we can have unhealthy ones. And so, because when we think of things as toxic, then we're making people something. I don't want to make people something. They're tired of being something. They're tired of being labeled. Labels to me are great in just trying to understand and deconstruct something, an identity. But other than that, they don't serve a purpose to help heal, whether it's an individual, whether it's a collective, whether it's a department, no matter what.
Wow.
So
Great point, Stephanie.
my passion is to really contribute to the nursing profession through coaching and workshops and retreat, whatever comes about for me to actually, make an impact, however small, it doesn't matter. The realization is we need to do something different. And we need to be able to do that from a very creative part of our mind, compassionate part. I think compassion is there, though. We're nurses, we're in this field.
Yes.
There is compassion. But I think that what I've discovered is I had to redefine my why. I had to redefine why I walked in the door. And I think after 20 years, it kind of started a couple years ago, but I think that that's something that we should be doing often, more often. This year, why am I walking in the door this year? This year, why are we doing this year? Why am I here? Why did I do this? And I think that it's really important because the medical professions, the healing professions, I think, as Dr. Gabor Mate says, there's a lot to unpack there. There's certain personalities that are attracted to these types of professions. And in my case, I had a fixer saver personality. And so caregiving and nursing was just right up my alley. And so really it's an intersection. And so it's an intersection that I think it's beautiful to work with people in this new language of what kind of, mask do you wear, as we've learned with Dr. Shafali and our parenting journeys. We wear our masks. We have our ego masks that we're wearing not only as a parent, but in the door to work. And so what does this all mean? And I think that once we start being more curious, more open, and going through like the process of it, because it gets sticky and it can be a little uncomfortable, and I think that's okay. We can handle it.
That's a pretty huge undertaking, Stephanie.
We just chip away.
Fantastic.
I'm always so impressed too. I mean, you just delivered your purpose and your passion so clearly, so succinctly. I mean, that was like a mini memoir right there. And I think it's inspiring for all of us to kind of dive into that. And how you said, redefine your why, even if it's annually, because our cells are different than they were a year ago, right? So why is our purpose not evolving? Like, check in with it. And that whole label thing that you said, and it is like a sneaky blame game, because you're like, it's like a package. You're like, oh, I'm gonna put a label on that and put it to the side. Like, I've already decided what that is and who that is, and that is a sneaky one, right? Because we don't know that we're doing that all the time. There is a nice like labeling to understand and then dive further, but to just label it and put it aside, like your fault, you're this, really closed. And you just illuminated so many cool things there. And thank you for doing the work to make that happen for us.
No, thank you. I think one thing I've noticed that I tend to find very important, you want a role model when you walk in the door, what this looks like. And it's okay that you're not always role modeling it, but you're aware in a moment. And I think that's the work is once we start affecting change by how we're role modeling it, there's an allowance there. And other people are allowed then to be a little bit more curious. What does that mean for me? There's nothing, I don't need to walk in the door now and control anybody or have any expectation that anybody is there to do anything for me. It's how do I walk in the door? How do I continue to be with people in an environment that is very dynamic, very stressful? We are taking care of other people, other humans, and all of that. If you think of the parenting and how our children, right, awaken us and poke us, we're in this field with other humans. And I'm a pediatric operating room nurse now. So now with other children, so I can see and observe just even how this elicits things within our own staff. It's very interesting when you walk in the door to a hospital, how that, whether you're a doctor, a nurse, a ancillary staff member, it doesn't matter. The environment itself is going to elicit things within you. And if we're in stories, we're just kind of in it. We wake up, we do the same thing. It's mundane. It's the same thing. Nothing ever changes because we're not stopping to pause and just like have an awareness, a different awareness. And there's so many things, right? There's so many things to this process. But if the first step could be questioning, right? Questioning your story, questioning why that's why the powerful way of being able to walk in the door and go, why am I doing this? Because it's going to start that within you. It will allow you to be curious and inquire, and what does this mean to me?
Beautiful, wonderful.
And is the goal to stay connected when you walk in the room with, like, when I like that saying, how do I walk in the room? Is it just to be aware, or is it because a lot of the parenting coaches talk about, like staying connected with your child, staying connected,
Present.
Okay.
So
yeah.
staying
Okay.
present. When you work with family members from the public, when you work with children from the public, when you work with any human being, you could judge them. You could criticize something about them. And when we're doing that, and that happens because we're human beings and things are hard. Sometimes we see some really hard things or behaviors that, boy, really are hard for us to observe. We take care of people that abuse. We take care of people that have been abused. We take care of people that are Nazis. I've taken care of Nazis. We take care of everyone. And how could that not elicit something within you? So how can we, and we still do, and sometimes you do, so there's a lot of this. Sometimes you do have to disconnect so that you can do your or your dog or whatever it is. And sometimes I think that people might have to have a boundary and ask for a different, if there's really something. I've seen that happen, But I think overall, if we could have communities of nurses. I'm working with nurses specifically, but anybody in the medical field. But if we could have communities that we can share on a global scale these experiences, we would be able to process. We would be able to redefine how we even experience those moments, because we would be able to then understand behavior differently, the human differently. But within this profession, it's so dynamic, it's so busy, we're in the grind. And it's really hard to pull away and then start this process of kind of a new awakening or a new way of experiencing our nursing. That it doesn't have to be because it just triggers us and we're going to disconnect or we're going to do this. Well, how do we get back into our body? If we have to disconnect, then how do we get back? And what do we need to heal? So that the next time this occurs, we don't have to experience it the same way.
We've got a game plan.
Right.
Right.
Well, wow, you filled our heads with all kinds of magical things today, Stephanie. Thank you so much for being here. At Bombastik Broadcasting, we like to say that a rising tide lifts all boats. So tell us a little bit about your website and what you offer.
So my website is nurseheartwisdom.com. I offer one-on-one coaching. And in the fall, I will start workshops and book clubs. And I have done a retreat and plan on continuing to do retreats. So that will be on a to be announced. And I did the retreat in Greece, and I plan on repeating that process. So, yay! Exciting!
Fantastic.
Aren't you
Who
stoked?
doesn't want to go to Greece? Yeah. Let's sign up right now.
Thank you
That's
so
right.
much, ladies, Kath, Sue, and Kim. It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. Sounds like a lot of opportunities that definitely we don't want to miss. So that's it from Bombastik Broadcasting. Be on the lookout for your poker. Be curious about patterns and be aware of the sneaky blame game.
Wake up. Wake up. Wake up. Wake up. So much more in this world that you can do. Wake up. Every little thing in this life that you're going through don't mean a thing. Wake up. You keep shining. You keep grinding. Wake up. All is aligning. All you gotta do. Wake up. My man Mo said that the reason that the world fucked up is cause everybody lazy. Positivity is corny to them, but they still gon' complain about the bad going on. Shit crazy. So I just had to drop a little project. I don't know what the object is, but this feels good. If you too hood for the good vibe, sorry I ain't got nothing for you. Why should I?
You shouldn't. We out here doing the things that y'all wouldn't. Life could be a sweet ride. Proof is in the pudding. These guys with the weak vibes, I'll show them where to put it. Down bad, I was looking for the answer. Mind all mad, taking over like a cancer. Canceled the sub plans, came from up above. Told me everything we're doing, showing love. And I gotta
wake up. So much more in this world that you can do. Wake up. Every little thing in this life that you're going through don't mean a thing. Wake up. You keep shining. You keep grinding. Wake up. All is aligning. All you gotta do. Wake up.
I've been getting so high, head up in the clouds. I don't ever wanna come down, but I gotta
wake up.
Ain't enough time to be down. Bust a smile, cause it's yet another day that I'm allowed to
wake up.
Feeling blessed to be alive, man. Not long till we thriving. Take the time to remind yourself that it all starts inside yourself. Most.
Wake up feeling stuck every day, then you gotta realize that it's all in your mindset. Read about that meditation, you go get around to it, you just haven't had the time yet. Yeah, I bet. Best thing that you could invest in is you. Could have the results or could have the excuse. Only one life, so take care of what you choose. And I ain't preaching, I'm just telling you the truth. Wake up. So much more in this world that you can do.